Clark was the first one in the tunnel. Her long year of basketball over, she was chosen #1 in the WNBA draft and took a team that had won 30 combined games over the previous 4 years to its first playoff berth since 2016.
In addition to being outstanding, Caitlin Clark's rookie season was spectacular, breaking records and packing arenas. Her influence on the WNBA has been nothing short of extraordinary, but even though her incredible performances left fans speechless, her ascent has spurred whispers, resentment, and respect from people all over the league. Now that her peers have finally spoken out, what are the WNBA stars saying about the player altering the rules?
The Indiana Fever, all right, with Caitlin Clark, led the league in attendance both home and on the road. Fever averaged 17,035 at home, 15,000 on the road. Attendance for the entire league up nearly 50% this year, according to data.
Clark is more than just a promising young athlete. She is already changing the definition of what it means to be a rookie in a professional basketball game. In her first season with the Fever, she broke 62 records, including becoming the only rookie to average over 8 assists per game while maintaining a scoring average and nearly 20 points. Her numbers alone are astounding, but they only scratch the surface of what Clark accomplished in her debut season. Her Rookie of the Year title and first-team All-WNBA honors were only the beginning.
Yes! Clark hits the three. Too much space. Nearly 10 million people watching. Maybe we can break that 10 this year. Deep three. Caitlin Clark.
One of her most memorable moments occurred during the game when she made 10 three-pointers and still managed to record a triple-double. Her shooting range is simply legendary, and her skill level left fans stunned, not just by the numbers, but also by the sheer audacity of her play. Parker, a two-time WNBA MVP, referred to Clark as a showman, a player who can electrify crowds simply by walking onto a court. Now, Caitlin Clark is known for transforming regular games into spectacular spectacles.
And all of this other stuff going on, which we will get into, right? She has you transfixed on the entire league. That's why I brought up Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. That's why I brought them up. See, when I think about Serena and Simone Biles and people like that.
In addition to winning games, the CL president has done more for her villain arenas than the league had ever seen before. Fever game ticket sales skyrocketed as fans, both new and old, scurried to see her magic life. She didn't just increase attendance in Indiana. Her away games frequently sold out as well, and teams were now relocating venues to accommodate the demand. This is evidence of her unmatched star power, as sponsorships poured in with BR Zager to align themselves with a player who wasn't just a basketball phenomenon but a cultural icon in the MAC. She is now a walking economy, and the WNBA is aware of it.
The win, they're really good offensively.
A career night for you. The last few games haven't been your best offensively.
Her poise is what adds even more admirable quality to her dominance. Now that she's under pressure, Clark not only scores goals, but also manages the tempo, plans plays, and encourages her teammates. Her basketball IQ and unwavering determination have coaches and players alike praising her and changing the way women's basketball is seen. Candace Parker was spot on when she mentioned that you guys need to watch out for Caitlin Clark when she enters the gym, because she is the type of player who makes everyone add Dan.
Clark averaged 19, 5, and 8 in her inaugural campaign, and she also led the league in assists. Clark's rookie season, it was historic.
Her first season wasn't just a turning point in her career, it was also a turning point for the league, and she's not only setting a new standard that will influence the WNBA for years to come, but she's also lifting the bar.
History was made in the NBA this month when assistant coach Becky Hammon was named head coach of the San Antonio Spurs Summer League team. She has coached 5 games and won 4. But as Carter Evans reports, more than victories, Coach Hammon.
Okay. As the head coach of the LA Aces and a WNBA legend in her own right, Becky Hammon has always been the type of coach that speaks mind to mind, and she isn't holding back when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Not only did Hammon praise Clark's Hoops players, but she also took a strong stand against the needless drama surrounding Clark. She knows talent when she sees it and wasn't afraid to declare Clark amazing. Hammon took the opportunity to directly address one of the most contentious narratives. I'm referring to the racial overtones that certain media sites and fans attempted to include in Clark's ascent. The tough love Clark experienced from players and coaches was part of the game, a ride-along that every player must go through, and Hammon made it clear that the hostility Clark faced wasn't about race, but rather about competitiveness. "Knock it off," she said bluntly, alluding to those promoting a black and white narrative. The league, after all, is based on fierce competition, and Clark's talent is obvious. Drew brought out the greatest, occasionally the harshest and ugliest reactions from her peers to Hampton and numerous others. "It's just basketball. You don't need to become political."
Hammon has been constantly proving herself. Out of college, every WNBA team passed on her.
You got to be persistent and resilient, and whether it be people not drafting me, trading me, people telling me I'm not good enough to be on their team.
Her determination on concentrating just on Clark's abilities, rather than the commotion surrounding her media friction or her divisive fanbase, is what really stands out about his viewpoint. Instead, Hammond focused on what mattered to Clark's group: "Our league loves her." Dismissing the idea that teams and players are trying to acquire Clark, Hammond pointed out that the WNBA's EOS is about showing up and competing regardless of who is on the other side of the court. That's precisely how she coaches her team to approach Clark, treating her like any other opponent, albeit an exceptional one.
Contextualize how impressive Caitlin Clark's rookie season was.
Malika, this season by Caitlin Clark is one of the best rookie seasons we have ever seen by a player in the WNBA. She has the 5th highest assists per game average ever.
As a 6-time WNBA All-Star and one of the league's all-time assist leaders, Hammond's work carries a lot of weight not only because of her accomplishments, but also because she has been in the trenches and understands what it's like to deal with intense scrutiny and pressure. Unlike many others, Hammon refuses to sugarcoat the difficulties that Clark will continue to face for her. Instead, she lets the game speak for her, and Clark's game speaks volumes like the Cyclopedia Britannica up here at his heart. She isn't going to claim that Clark is untouchable, but she also won't minimize what the rookie has achieved by ignoring the commotion and concentrating on the game itself. The no-nonsense attitude is a profound appreciation for the competitive nature of the WNBA. Herman presents a novel and frank analysis of Caitlin Clark, a player she respects but isn't scared to question. Next up is Cheryl Reeve, whose original opinion of Clark when asked about the possibility of tanking for Clark before to the draft. The Minnesota Lynx coach did not mince words. At the time, it was fairly easy to interpret Reeve's comments and doubts about whether Clark was worth the hype, but by the time Clark's rookie season arrived, her tone had drastically changed. Reeve called the idea of purposefully losing games to get a player like Clark unsportsmanlike and said it wasn't how she'd ever run her team. She even went so far as to say that she'd step aside if ownership demanded them kind of tactics.
Right, as you just mentioned, didn't even get to reflect it all in her college career and just jumped right into things and had an epic season. How would you describe, Chene, her historic career?
Yeah,
year this far.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark came into the WNBA as the most impactful women's basketball player we've seen in a generation.
Since then, Rhea has emerged as one of Clark's most outspoken supporters, publicly praising her capacity to adjust to the WNBA's physicality and pace. Clark's move wasn't only seamless, it was revolutionary, particularly for the Indiana Fever at this point. Reeve couldn't help but observe how easily Clark adapted to playing against bigger, stronger, and more seasoned opponents. The NBA is a different kind of beast than collegiate basketball, but Clark made it look almost easy with her keen basketball intelligence and unwavering determination to outplay even the league's most formidable defenses. But what truly grabbed Reeve's attention was how Clark raised the ante overall, causing a squad that had been lingering close to the bottom of the standings to suddenly find itself playing at a higher level. Reeve acknowledged that the chemistry Clark brought to the game was evident, with players now knowing how to read her movements and take advantage of her remarkable ability to deliver pinpoint passes. Clark's presence on the court was about more than just scoring points. It was also about giving her teammates opportunities and promoting unity. Not only has Clark's encore performance impressed Reeve, but so has her resilience. We've seen how Clark's developing physical strength allowed her to dominate in ace spaces where other rookies might have faltered, and we've also highlighted her competitive spirit, referring to her as a future Hall of Famer in the making. The Fever's early season struggles weren't particularly surprising. It's difficult to be a young team in a league where experience frequently wins. When you add in a rookie like Caitlin Clark, whose skill set demands quick adaptation from everyone around her, and you have a recipe for some growing pains. The Fever, in my opinion, stumbled at the gate not exactly gracefully, and their lack of unity was evident to everyone, especially when you consider the missed opportunities and all the poor defensive play in the beginning. However, when Clark eventually found his rhythm and everything began to change, you got Stephanie White, the WNBA Coach of the Year, who was quick to give credit to Clark's leadership for the team's turnaround. In other words, it's one thing to be a talented player, but it's another to improve those around you. Early on, Clark had a remarkable capacity to uplift her teammates. At times, her precision passes caught players off surprise because they weren't prepared for her. Court vision and execution speed, but as those games progressed, the team began to click. Players started anticipating their moves, positioning themselves in the right places at the right times, and taking advantage of her laser-accurate assists. Today, Clark does more than just score. She orchestrates, as her playmaking served as the cornerstone of a significantly enhanced Fever offense. What is most notable, though, is how Clark was able to inspire confidence in her teammates. White explained how the young stars' competition affected everyone. Clark led by example, pushing herself and her teammates to improve. Her mindset was not just about winning, it was also about finding ways to improve every single game. As a result, Fever players who had previously looked hesitant in the first few weeks of the season began to step up and make shots they might have been hesitant to take. White's assessment of Clark's development is refreshingly balanced. She notes that Clark is far from a finished product and identifies areas for improvement, such as reducing turnovers and honing her decision-making under pressure. But she also highlights how far Clark has already come, especially in adjusting to the physicality of the WNBA. What's most remarkable is White's optimism about the direction this team is taking. The Fever is still a work in progress, but with Clark leading the way, they have transformed from an easy target to a team that no one wants to face. Clark's willingness to take hits and still deliver sets her apart from most rookies. Since Clark is the type of player that has the ability to turn around a franchise's fortunes, she might be correct. The chemistry that Clark has developed with her colleagues is the foundation for the Fever's promising future.
Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Rickea Jackson, I think you can put those top three and what they did throughout the course of their rookie campaign up with some of the best rookie classes we have seen in the history of the game. 2004, Diana Taurasi, Elena Beard.
As the head coach of the New York Liberty, Brondello takes pride in creating flawless defensive plans, but she acknowledged that working with Clark is like trying to catch smoke. Defenses are forced to play a game of whack and mole because of Clark's versatility on the court. They must concentrate on her scoring and let her tear you apart with her pass and playmaking. She will also sink three-pointers from ridiculous range. Brondello has been open about how tough the game versus Clark, the rookie basketball player, is. His IQ is insane. Much more than you could anticipate from someone so fresh to the league. Brondello clarified that Clark anticipates him, whether it's reading a double team or taking advantage of a mismatch, rather than only responding to defenses. Despite the Liberty doing everything against her, including the occasional trap and defenders' zone coverage, Clark is always one step ahead and managed to score 30 points and dish out 12 assists in a single game. You must not abandon her. What are your thoughts on all of this? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Brondello acknowledged that just when you think she's covered, she finds a way to damage you. See you all on the upcoming show.